One of the things that I love about being in Europe is that they don't use dryers, they just hang their clothes out on their decks in order to dry. Using was the air conditioners in each room. They all come with a separate remote height. So this one's set on 22 degrees. Our host, when we got here, was so kind as to leave us 4 or 5 bottles of champagne in the refrigerator. Going over some of the foods that we've eaten a lot of while we were here. They have juice, just like back in the States. Of course, this is their milk that is pasteurized. And this is their yogurt. It is in a bottle, and you actually pour it. Not a lot of diet drinks in Europe. One thing you can almost always find though is Coke Zero, and they'll be kept out on a shelf in a part of the grocery store where usually like meats, cheeses, and stuff like that are, but they're not in a refrigerated cooler. This is my handy dandy coffee press, my French press. It goes with me everywhere. Here in Tirana, there's a huge Italian influence because a lot of Albanians in the 90s moved to Italy when the communist government fell here in the early 90s. It's a bidet. Basically, it has a water faucet that goes hot to cold, and usually it has its own toilet paper next to it. They don't sell liquid vanilla, at least not any of the grocery stores that I asked in, and you make your own with these packets. And this is the Albanian version of baking powder. When it comes to cooking, one thing is they don't have broth or sell liquid broth over here, beef, vegetable, chicken broth, so we ended up making our own with a little seasoning packet. One of the places that I love to shop is Conad. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but I go there because they have a lot more products than your typical Albanian grocery stores. This is a 220 to 110 adapter. I picked this up actually when I got here. I think I went to like a Jumbo or AB market in Greece, in Athens, and got it. They weren't expensive. They were like $7 or $8, you know, actually converted, however that works out. And you have your USB-C and your USB-A ports, because actually most things are 110 to 230. So here's our fire stick that we brought. So you can see all of my supplements and medications that I brought and beauty products, because sometimes when you travel, those things aren't readily available. So if they're not too heavy, I'll bring them with me. But one thing I always wait and buy when I fly out of the States is a hairdryer, because usually if I'm going to a country that doesn't use 110 and they're on 220, hair dryers, because they create heat, use so much voltage or electricity. I will go ahead and just get a cheap one when I arrive rather than trying to find one before I fly. They don't put toilet paper in the toilet after they wipe. They actually put it in a small bin you'll find beside toilets, both in houses and in restaurants and public places. The washing machine that we have here in Albania, and as you can see, the dials are in English because it's an Electrolux, and it's like super easy to figure out. The temperatures are in Celsius, I believe, but the dials are in English, which is great because the dials were in Greek in Athens, and we had to hold up the Google Translate with the camera and take a picture and then see what all the different settings were in order to use it. But that Okay, so 2 things I never travel without. I was a nurse for 20 years, and my daughter had a white blood cell disorder that her white blood cells couldn't fight staph, and she would get infections. So I always take a can of or a bottle of Bactine, because it's both pain lessening, pain relieving, and a disinfectant. And then I always keep hydrocortisone cream in the suitcase, just for bug bites, whatever the case may be, any kind of swelling, along with, some Tylenol and Motrin. One thing we did, we ended up using a virtual privacy network. We use ExpressVPN, and we didn't have any problems with it. We liked it, but I'm not being paid to promote it or anything, but you can use it to trick your Fire Stick or Roku into thinking you're in the States, and that way you can watch Peacock and Tubi. Amazon Prime and Netflix have different versions when you go abroad, so if you want the American shows that you've been watching to be available to you, you will have to be on a VPN saying that you're in the States. One thing we really liked using when we got to Greece, and we could also use it in Albania, was the Wolt app, which we found easier to use than eFood and the other ones that are available. It's kind of like DoorDash, but we were really glad for this, because if you don't have transportation, or you don't know where you are, or you don't have things in the Airbnb when you first get there, this is incredibly handy. It's not very expensive. They are pretty fast, and you can order from grocery stores, you can order from restaurants, and it was seriously a lifesaver and very, very affordable.